both mobile payments as well as the CRM section of the mobile app. So diving straight in, first let's take a look at what has been happening on the payment side and where are we going to go from here. So a lot of very exciting updates, a lot of feature requests are finally getting added to the mobile app when payments are concerned. So the first thing, something that we've already shipped live, I believe 2 to 3 weeks back, and that is a revamped version of our invoices. So the idea behind building or rebuilding the invoices was to make sure that we have every single functionality that invoices on web possess, because uh, back then we used to have only a couple of options related to invoices, which means that you could just create an invoice and that was pretty much it. Now, all the functionalities have been unlocked, and the idea was that you get the most important information right in front of your eyes as soon as you land on this page. So you would see two widgets up top. So you have the amount of earnings that you have already received, which means the number of invoices for which a payment has been recorded, along with invoices that you have sent out, and they're either due or overdue. So best to follow up with the customer and receive payment for those. So you see the potential earning value right here. Alongside that, you have a tab now to switch between all of your invoices. So the ones that are in draft, the ones that have been sent out, payment has been recorded, or if an invoice is overdue, everything is available in this list. And you can filter out the invoices based on the status, based on the date that you have sent out to narrow down your search results and land on the most relevant invoice. The second tab, of course, would be the templates, which are invoices that you have saved as templates for future use. So now you can do this on mobile as well. So if you see, you have an option to convert an invoice to a template. So any invoice that you convert to a template would be visible under this section. And all you have to do is just edit a couple of details if you need to and send it out. And all of your recurring invoices would be found under this section, along with all, of course. So any recurring template that you want to quickly take a look at is visible under this tab. And along with that, on the invoice homepage, the cards now have gesture-based interactions. So to make it far more intuitive, since everyone's used to a mobile device with gestures, we've done the same for invoices where you could either tap on the invoice to perform the primary action. So for a draft invoice, it would open up the invoice builder. For a paid invoice, it would open up the actual invoice view, which you can quickly take a look at on what the context was. There are two other actions. So one would be your long press, which would reveal every single option valid for that invoice. So for example, you can see that this is a due invoice and you could either edit the invoice, copy a link and share it with the relevant contact. View the recurring template since this was a recurring invoice. You could download the invoice, you could void the invoice if it's no longer necessary. You could clone another one so that you could send it out to a different contact. You could convert it to a template as well as record a payment, which I believe is the most important thing for an invoice. And finally, of course, you have a left swipe navigation that allows you to pull out the two most primary options along with an option to view everything else. So for an invoice that has already been paid, which you can see here, you would have the ability to either download the invoice or void the invoice if you no longer find it important to you. For a due invoice or an overdue invoice, the primary actions would be to record a payment or to, of course, void the invoice. And you could then, if you want to tap on more, you see the bottom sheet once again with all these options. So yeah, this has been live for a couple of weeks, and we are continuously working to improve this. Along with this, we also shipped out a brand new way to build an invoice inside the mobile app. And the way we wanted to structure this was to make sure that there's absolutely no learning curve to using any of the payments products on the mobile app. So the POS, the invoices, and estimates when they come in the future would all work in the same way. So every single page will be super familiar, and it just makes things much more simpler because once this gets into your muscle memory on how to quickly build an invoice or an estimate or record a POS transaction, fantastic. So the idea was to start with an invoice, you just define the initial details. So everything that's basic to the invoice. So the contact, the invoice dates, when it's being issued, when it's due, as well as the invoice number. So all of those fields are available. The second step, of course, would be the most important step where you add items. So you could add items from the catalog if you've already created a well-defined product section, or you could use the keypad to quickly enter a custom amount, and that gets added as a custom item. Finally, you get to define the terms and notes if they are necessary. It's a completely optional step and can be skipped. And finally, you land on the fourth step, which would be to review the invoice. Just one final glance at the invoice to make sure that everything is good to go. And if you want to see how it looks for your end customer, all you have to do is just tap on preview and it loads up the actual view or the web view of the invoice. So whenever they open it up on their laptop or on their mobile device, you would see how it would look for them. So once everything's good to go, you could quickly send it via either SMS or email or a combination of the two, provided that the contact has all the details necessary. So a phone number as well as an email address. We are continuously improving this as well. So I've noticed that there are a few issues where some confusions are arising. So we are adding certain checkpoints to make sure that you know that the invoice is being saved and just overall navigation improvements throughout this flow. Any questions so far related to invoices?
Seen none so far.
All right, good to go. And the final bit, of course, is to use the point of sale module to build an invoice very quickly. So the idea is that all you have to do is just head over to the POS section, just use the keypad to enter a custom amount or multiple custom amounts, in fact, or and use the product catalog. So the two can be used in combination without any hiccups. So you could use a combination of the two, enter all your items, link a contact, and instead of charging them via tap to pay, cash, cards, or manual entry, you would see a new option which says convert to invoice. So if you tap on this, now since you've already linked a contact, you would see this field pre-filled. You also have the ability to now define the issue date and due date. And I believe the issue date is always set to the current date, which of course is the date when you started the POS transaction. You could edit that if it's necessary. And there's a due date, which would be populated for 3 days from today. So if necessary, you can quickly change that and proceed to the next step. Now, since you've already added items, we don't show that step. So you quickly land on the terms and notes screen. So if you need to make any changes, which generally uh, is something that not a lot of people would do, because terms and notes are something that you can define once and reuse them every single time for every invoice. Finally, you have the last step, which is, of course, to preview the invoice and send it out. So very, very, very simple to build an invoice using the point of sale. So yeah, that's about invoices overall. We've also recently shipped a brand new feature, and this was something that was asked for quite some time, especially for businesses that cater to, or sorry, agencies that cater to service-based businesses, like salons or barbershops, or other such businesses where an appointment is generally taken, and a payment has to be recorded after the completion of the appointment. So the idea was that if you have set this up on web, and there is a demo quickly to show how all of this works. So if you've correctly set up your service calendars and added a payment element to it, where I would say an advance or just a deposit can be accepted initially, and the rest of the amount has to be paid later, that's where this feature comes into play. So for any balance that is due, you would see it right inside your appointment event under the payment details section. You would see the amount that is the balance that has to be paid. So there are two options. You could either quickly check out the invoice and see if you need to add any additional items, or you could quickly just proceed with recording the payment. You just tap on this, it pulls up the screen, you tap to pay, cash, cards, or manual entry, whatever your preferred payment method is, and you're good to go. So this overall just streamlines everything and makes sure that your payment or your invoices are much easier to locate instead of just browsing through the overall catalog and then checking the invoice that was created for this particular service appointments, especially if it was created well in advance. So 7 days later, I'm sure you already have a lot of invoices on your invoice section, which is why this feature just comes in super handy. A quick demo to just show how this would work. So this is on web, right? So you have now configured your service calendar. You've navigated to the payment section. You've turned on the toggle accept payment, and you've defined two fields. One is the deposit, which you see under pay now. So $5. Total amount is $100, which means that after the appointment has been successfully booked, a balance of $95 will be due on the date of the service. So there we go. I've selected an appointment. Let's just quickly enter the details, fill out the form. Pretty simple. There we go. And any additional information, suppose you want a particular service and you want to just type it out for your reference. There we go. Appointment for a haircut and good to go. That's where you enter the card details and it tells you that $5 deposit needs to be paid upfront. The balance will be charged by our POS upon completion of the service. Now, this message is completely customizable, so you can change it to whatever you feel deem fit. And there we go. The appointment has now been booked. So now this part is done. Now, how does it all interface on the mobile app? You head over to your appointment section, and that's where, oh, I'm so sorry. And that's where you see I had booked an 11 a.m. slot, and it is titled by my name because I was the contact who booked this appointment. So I open this up, and there we go. We have payment details. $95 balance is due. So now there's an option to quickly tap on view invoice, with which you just open up the actual invoice and see a breakdown of all the items. Now, if I wanted to add a couple of different details to this, for example, if additional items were used to perform the service, maybe a special kind of oil or a different kind of shampoo that was not included in the service, you hit the edit button and you quickly edit your invoice, add that item in, and save it. This would change the final amount that has to be collected, and that would be reflected on that appointment screen also. But going forward, let me just go and record payment, and that's how simple it is. So leave a tip if necessary. So let's go with no tip for now. And of course, that's where the video will cut off because Apple has its own restrictions where if a video is being recorded, it won't show the tap to pay screen. But basically, you get the gist. That's how all of this would work.
Awesome.
Okay, so what's in store for now? Over the next 2 months, and by 2 months, I mean the remainder of August as well as September in its entirety, we are shipping out some of the most demanded features. So one is hardware setup for payments. Now, the idea for this comes from the fact that tap to pay is restricted to a couple of different countries, and it is restricted to devices that are on a certain iOS version. It's generally practice that you have to be above iOS 17 to make sure you are able to transact without hiccups. And you need an iPhone 10R or above to make sure everything goes through. And this leaves out one of the biggest device segment, an iPad. An iPad is something that generally a lot of service-based businesses, or in fact, many businesses use. And not being able to accept payments via tap to pay or just going through a very tedious process of manually entering a card and then charging your customer for it, you're losing out on valuable time. And that should not be the case. So, hardware payments is our solution to make sure that iPads, in fact, any tablets, iOS or Android, are now compatible with the point of sale in a very seamless manner. And this would also include devices that are generally older or devices that do not have NFC capability. So any older Android phone or iPhone, maybe an iPhone 10 if you have one. So you could use that and quickly connect a hardware reader to then charge your customer via this device. So this is a list of the devices that we would be supporting. The Stripe M2 reader has already been validated. I do have a demo after this to show how it works. We are testing out a few other devices also, but this would be the list of devices compatible. So if it is important for your business, you could go ahead and get one. And once the feature is launched, you are all set to start transacting. And now a short demo of how this works. So now I've added to my Pixel device, right? Open this up. There we go. Now, the thing is, the UI is not completely ready we are working on this, but this was just to demonstrate how hardware would work. So you have a separate section available inside settings now. Let's go back. And that's called payment devices. So you tap on this, and if there are a couple of devices that you have already paired, they would be visible here. If nothing is available, you just see a blue button, search for a Bluetooth reader. Of course, the UI is getting enhanced before the launch, or you could tap on the search button to quickly start, searching for a brand new device, as long as, the Bluetooth or has been turned on already and your device is powered on and ready to be connected. So, oh, why did it restart? No idea. There we go. Let me just quickly tap on this. And I have my Stripe M2, and there we go. Just connecting it. You see the lights flashing on the screen, on the actual device. And there we go. We have connected this. So now let's go back and see how a transaction would go through with the help of this. So let me go ahead and charge myself for 50 cents. Let's do 50. Yeah. Quickly add a contact. Well, in this case, it would be me, and choose payment instrument. And now if you see, if you want, you can either directly accept payment via tap to pay on your device if you have that supported. Otherwise, you also have an option. The actual hardware device would be visible. So we will be refining this section to make it far more prominent and easy to locate, since it just blends in this entire list. So again, a couple of UI fixes that we will be performing before launch. You tap on this, and you have an option to leave a tip, even with a hardware device. Let's say no tip. And now it asks me to either swipe, insert, or tap. And the device is ready if you can see the dot here. There we go. And we're all set. Payment has been recorded. Just to double check if it actually went through, yes, we do see the green status, and we do see that this was the card that was charged. This is the contact to whom the invoice or the transaction was billed. And then we have the amount. So you can view the breakdown, which would give you a list of the items. In this case, we would just see custom item, or you could issue a refund if necessary. So yeah, hardware payments coming out in August. Along with that, we also have plans to integrate Square to our mobile POS. Now, the idea is that not everyone uses Stripe, right? There are a couple of different payment providers that we support on web: NMI, Authorize, Square. But the primary distribution is leaning towards Square, because a lot of people who are on Square are not being able to come on board on high level and use the high level POS. So to solve for that, Square integration is now becoming a reality on the mobile app. So the idea is that if you have a Square reader in hand, either a Square reader or a Square terminal, you would be able to connect those to the high level POS and just accept transactions as you would on the Square POS app. As long as you have a Square account, you're all good to go, and you would be able to use either your hardware device, or you can use your credit or debit cards, uh, if that is the way you transact. So yeah, this would also be rolling out towards the end of August or September, if there are some delays, if we record, but otherwise we're all set. So any questions around hardware as well as Square? Tony, yes, it will be acting as a payment processor for now. When you talk about fully integrating it, could you maybe elaborate on, what kind of integration you're looking at? Okay, products and quantity.
Yeah. So a lot of my clients use Square as their current point of sale.
Mhm.
And obviously, I'd like to try and move them across to be fully integrated into Go High Level. But at the moment, they have a lot of products currently on Square, and they keep track of their quantities on Square. So as a transition, it would be great if that could be integrated between Go High Level and Square until they're fully committed to Go High Level.
I see. I mean, that definitely makes sense. And I think this would be the first step into achieving that vision. So I'll keep you posted on any updates that we have around this.
Okay, thank you.
Matthew?
Yeah, my question is around the UI. Is it possible to turn off the tipping option just to make things a little bit faster?
Right. Yes, we will be adding a toggle to turn off tipping from within the mobile app. It is possible today, but you will have to turn that setting on web. So it's available under payments, settings, and there's a tip section. And if you turn that off, then tips would no longer be available, or that screen would no longer be available on any of the payment products on the mobile app. We will bring
Awesome.
it to the mobile app so that it's far more easier to just turn it on or off whenever necessary.
Cool. Good note. Okay, all good for now, I guess.
Awesome. And next we have estimates. So to complete the triad of our payments products, which is POS, invoices, and estimates, we're finally finishing the last piece of the puzzle, which would be to bring estimates over to the mobile app. The web payments team is doing the same, and we're making sure that we are well in line and it runs on both the platforms in a very, very seamless fashion. So the idea remains the same. You would build an estimate just as you would build an invoice. But instead of recording a payment, you just have your end customer accept or reject the invoice. So the overall UI still is very similar to how invoices look. The home screen is very similar. You have all your estimates, you have your estimate templates, you have recurring estimates if you want to send them. You have all the important information available in the form of 4 widgets up top to just see, how much value worth of estimates have you already sent out, how many have been declined, how many have been accepted, and how many have been converted to an invoice after acceptance. So again, all the tiles are very, very similar. You could see all the different statuses. So an accepted estimate, an estimate that has been invoiced, an estimate that has just been sent, but no action has been recorded, an estimate that has been declined, or if it is in draft. To build an estimate, it's very, very similar to how we would build an invoice. So I do have a quick Figma screen to, I think, show how this would work. Let's go back here. Right. So the idea is you open the mobile app, you tap on the hamburger menu, the left-hand navigation basically, and then you see the screen where you have estimates along with, of course, all your other options. So with estimates, then you have all these, your entire home screen with the widgets that we just saw. And of course, if you start creating a brand new estimate by tapping on the plus button, you would land on this page, which asks you to add the initial details. So the business information, basically, that is your business name, your maybe the business owner's name or the direct POC for this client. Their contact is visible here, and then you can link it to and the actual client who you're about to send the estimate to. You add the estimate name, define the dates, the issue date as well as the due date, and the estimate number would also be visible here. Now, if you want to add a customer, you tap on this and it gives you a list of all the contacts that you have. In case it's somebody who's a first-time customer for you, you see a prompt up top to create a new contact. So you tap on this and you quickly fill out the details of that particular customer. And once you're good to go, you just hit save and it's automatically recorded here. So you don't have to perform any other manual interventions. You just have to fill out the basic details, the name, and the email or the phone number, or both. That is definitely recommended, but to just quicken the process, you could choose either one of these avenues. So all set, you quickly create it and contacts are linked. Everything is ready. So now we move over to the item screen where you add items from the catalog or you use the keypad to enter a custom amount. And remember, partial quantities are always supported in every single payment products of ours, up to 2 decimal places. So if you're dealing with units that aren't measured in whole numbers, for example, if you're talking about pounds or gallons or something else, you can use partial quantities to get the most accurate amount that you would be transacting with. All good. Once you've added all the items, the next step would be to, of course, define the terms and notes, which once you add them, they will be always readily available for the next estimate that you create. And you can also add attachments. So if there's a copy of a bill, or if there's a copy or pictures of the items that you're about to bill the customer for, you could add them and you could see the status of them being uploaded while you're adding them. And then if everything looks good, you hit review, and then you get to this page, which allows you to just quickly review all the estimate details. So again, very, very similar to how invoices work. And you see all the details here. If you want to make edits to the actual items, uh, we are introducing a brand new way to do that, and that would be to customize everything that you want about that item. So initially, what we could allowed users to do was to just adjust the quantity. But if you want to change the item variant altogether, it's an extremely tedious process to go 2 steps back, make the change, come back. So to shorten all of that, if you tap this, the same bottom sheet that was available on the products page opens up, and you can make the edits here. We will also be bringing this over to custom items, but not with the launch of estimates. So it'll take a while, but we will be doing it within this quarter. And if you hit preview, this is how your estimate would look. And once you're ready to send out your estimate, this is how your bottom sheet would look. So your recipient, the channels via which you are broadcasting your estimate, the templates, because now you have an option to define templates for your estimates. So you could create one, or you have, if you would like to use the default one, well and good. But you could make those changes here. So based on the channel you have selected, the relevant fields would open up here. And you have the option to either turn on live mode or test mode for this. And once everything is good to go, you hit send, and then you land back on the screen with a message that tells you that your estimate has been sent. So yeah, that's around estimates. This would
Awesome.
be
And there's a
Okay.
couple of questions for the attachments. We're gonna have a camera mode for that, so we can just snap a photo right there and throw it in.
Yes, yes, we will.
Cool. And there you go on that one. And then Dutch Texan was asking, could we get an alert for duplicate invoice number?
I'll have
Uh,
to check this. I'm sure this is already in place, because for an invoice on web, you have the ability to configure the invoice number. So let me just double check. If it's not there, it is absolutely crucial for us to add this, and we'll get this added soon.
can we do PDF or attach the estimate as a PDF to the email?
Uh, I don't think this would be available right at launch, because the idea is that it would be available in the form of a link. And if you access the estimate, you need to have those actions where you can accept or reject. We will figure out a way if we can get this added, because it is a very valid suggestion overall. But there is an alternative. So you could use the documents and contracts module. It is a lengthier process for now, but it's always possible to do this. You use documents and contracts, build out the same estimate, and add it as an attachment to the estimate you're about to send out, which means that this attachment would be available with the email that you send out.
Okay, cool.
More like invoices or documents. Right. So the idea is that yes, even today you can build an estimate using documents and contracts, but it is a far more tedious process, and the discoverability is low, which means that not a lot of people generally know that they can build an estimate using the documents feature, which you can see right here, or you can see it on web. So, which is why we are introducing estimates as a separate section, and making sure that the UI, the way to build an estimate, is very, very similar to every single one of our payments products.
Cool.
So, yeah, the number gets generated once you are creating that invoice. So once you tap on the plus button and you've entered like 1 or 2 details, you would already see the number listed here. So either for the estimate or for the invoice, whichever tool you're using to build your, well, payment product. So because at this moment, the invoice has technically already been created, or the estimate has technically been created when you tap on this and just link a contact, which means that, if you want, you can delete this invoice or estimate. I'll have to double check how the number fluctuates with deletions, but I think this would be handy to cross check and make any amendments if necessary.
Yeah.
Yep. So just to clarify on my earlier question about the invoice number generated, is it possible for you to connect with the payments team, perhaps? I'm not sure who's doing the invoice number, because if an invoice number is generated when being during the creation, and it's not gonna be sent, then it's not going to be a consistent number. There's going to be missing invoice number if they're not going to be sent. So I do have one platform that it only generates invoice when you are ready to send, but it is not adding the invoice number when it's still in draft.
Right.
We're just going to copy QuickBooks or every other major accounting system, and whatever they do, we'll do.
Okay, thank you.
Because as far as I know, I think Stripe asks you to define this in the initial steps. But we'll still double check. We'll see, what the best user experience is, and if any amendments are necessary to be made, we will make sure that we make it before we go live with this.
Cool.
I think for estimates, it's okay to have an estimate number because it's not the actual.
Yeah, estimates always have estimate numbers for sure. That's it works in every accounting system on planet Earth, right? There should be an estimate number. Estimate becomes an invoice, and those are two separate objects with their own identifiers.
Yes, sir.
That's correct. And to your second question, the plus sign. The plus sign would always be visible on your screen towards the bottom right. So it'll be a floating button, and we've just shown it here just for the reference because this page was massive to be displayed, which is why it's available at the end. But yes, it will always be there. So you won't have to scroll down all the way to, well, create one.
Cool. Liar?
Yeah, so just to clarify about what I asked with the difference between documents and estimates, from my understanding, it was that the estimates it's like documents, but a different tab, because now in workflows, we'll be able to separate them. When I send an estimate, we call it proposals, and then it's designed in a specific way. It's more than just an invoice. It has different options and a whole marketing pitch, basically. So
yeah, that is the difference. They're the same thing. One's prettier and one's not.
So will that still be in a separate tab? We'll still be able to design it, or will the design only be under documents? And the workflow.
I mean, there'll be some tweaks you can make to estimates, but at some point it's like, I'm either replacing your toilet, in which case we don't need to do a bunch of pretty amazing stuff here, or, oh, you know what? I'm going to do a big project for you, so I'm switching over to an actual document.
Okay, so then workflow, it will still be the same actions and triggers and workflows if we're doing the design version.
Yeah, I mean, you should have the triggers in the workflows that make sense for that particular item, but yes, they should be very similar, if not the same.
Because what I'm thinking is the difference between the proposals versus contracts, because a contract will not be designed. It's just a contract for my industry, that is.
Sure.
So I just need to make sure that the workflow is separate. If I send someone a contract, it won't trigger the workflows for the designed estimates. So
yeah, estimate should have its own category, in my opinion. A document, proposal, contract, separate thing. Estimate, separate thing. Two different triggers in the workflow. Because most people do not. You're going to interchange. You might interchange these potentially, but they're not the same thing.
Right. I was just hoping to be able to design the estimates and still separate the workflows, have it in a separate tab for my clients. That was my hope.
Yeah, you probably will. You'll have a contract in the contracts/document sections, because that's what that is, and an estimate in the estimate section, because that's what that is.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. It's just the functionality of it. There will be more than invoice.
So if you want to, so we're gonna estimates. We're gonna copy and paste. Go look at QuickBooks and Xero and every accounting system. That's what we're gonna copy paste. That's it. That's an estimate, right? Proposals. Go look at, I don't know, like 17 hats or something like that. That's the goal there. DocuSign. Those are I guess that's the way we look at the difference in the products.
Okay, I see.
So Leo, just to elaborate a little bit, I think the question that you were asking is, if the estimates that you design using this would have separate triggers. And I'll have to just double check, but the idea is that we could design separate triggers for that, as long as there is a product list present in that document. So if there's a product list that is present, then it becomes an estimate. But if it's not present, then it becomes a standard contract. So that's how we'll try to differentiate this. But the new estimate section that you see is for something where you just quickly want to build an estimate in 1 minute. You don't have the time to actually build out a template and just, put elements here and there, beautify the entire thing. You just want to send it out before getting a job done. So like home service businesses or, just overall car servicing or anything, right? So for that, this feature comes in handy. So you have three ways to send something out. Either you build an estimate using the estimate section, or you build beautified estimates using the documents and contract section, or you just build a contract without a product list.
I see. Yeah, I understand that. All right. Thank you. Is it possible to book a call with you just to go into more details about this?
For sure. Yes. I'll drop my calendar link at the end of this call.
Thank you.
Awesome. And of course, to make it far more simpler, because we have done it for invoices, we are doing it for estimates also. So you can build an estimate via the POS section. The idea is that you've added the products. So either a custom item using the keypad or the product catalog. Once you've done that, you've linked a contact, you land on this page, and instead of accepting payment via tap to pay or any other payment method, you just tap prepare estimate. You get to the screen where some of the details, of course, have been initially defined, but if you want to make any changes, you can, and fill out the remaining details that are absent. Terms and notes most probably would always be available, and if you would like to add an attachment, that's possible here. And the final step, of course, is to quickly review the estimate before sending it out via email or SMS. So just very, very simple, shortening it down even further. And finally, we have some enhancements that I was talking about. And the idea was to make sure that the same customization is available on the review screen instead of you having to go back 2 steps, performing the customization, and then coming forward 2 steps. Eliminate those 4 steps. What you get is basically you tap on the item tile, and this opens up your bottom sheet, which allows you to change the variant combination, which would automatically adjust the price. And if you want to change the tax, you could do that. Adjust the quantity, that's possible as well. We will be doing this for customized items also. So yeah, that's the final thing that we have for mobile payments. Any question on this before I head over to CRM?
Brian, do you have a question?
Yeah, it's a simple one. During the estimate phase, when they're taking photos, if they want to look at those later, obviously it's like a project or something. Is that going to be where will they find those later on?
Oh, very interesting. So this is something that we have actually covered, but this would be available inside the CRM part of the slide. So
Okay,
it's
got it.
available under the contact section, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Perfect.
Okay, so one of the first things that we have recently made live was a brand new list view for calendars. And the reason we have made this modification is to accommodate for a couple of new features that we are shipping out this month as well as next month. So a lot of exciting things happening with calendars. So this new redesign basically brings in a view that allows you to switch between different dates and view the events for that particular date. Initially, the problem was that you had the ability to keep on scrolling endlessly until you lost so deep into a rabbit hole that you don't know which date you're on, and then you have to just go back, come back again, and just complicate the entire process. That would also result in adding a brand new event or an appointment on the wrong dates, because that's what you're looking at. So to at least solve for that, we've limited the scroll to only that date's worth of events. But we are enhancing this calendar view also. Right now, what you see is a monthly view. So you toggle between different dates of the month, and that's where you see all the events. We are also bringing a weekly view, which would narrow down your results even more. So, for example, if you're starting fresh on a Monday, you just open the calendar, you would see all your events from Monday to, well, Saturday, or in fact, Sunday as well, right? If you have that. So you see all of that, and then you just switch between different dates and view the events for those, just as you would naturally on Apple as well as Google Calendar. Alongside this, we will also be introducing a list view. So in case you're not really concerned about the dates as such, you don't want to look at the calendar part of this, you just want to look at all the events that are basically booked or available for you in the future. You could do that. Just have an endless scroll list where you have all of your events, and that just makes it easier for you to just get a glance of your week or your month or maybe the entire year. And we will also be experimenting with a few different views, but stay tuned for that. So calendars on the mobile app would be definitely changing. So along with this, you will also have a key, a legend of sorts, that would differentiate the different icons that are available inside each event tile. So there would be different colors. So if you see an icon like this, that means, okay, it's from Outlook. If you see this, then it's from Apple. If you see a warning sign, that means it's an event error and you need to make some change. Maybe somebody has rejected your event, they've not accepted the invite. Maybe there is some conflicting event. So in cases like these, you would be able to identify that yes, this is an error, and all the icons would be available here. You would also be able to see the actual meaning of each color. So selected user color, selected group color, and this is actually a sneak peek into one of the other features that we are taking live very soon. But we'll get to that. So that's on calendars. At least what we have shipped recently. Now, what's coming in the future? So let's dive into it module by module. We have conversations. So for conversations, we are taking draft conversations live. And the idea behind this is that if you're performing an action and you get a phone call, maybe not on the high level app, maybe an external phone call, and then you start searching for something on Chrome, it eats up all your RAM and the app basically closes and you have to open it up once again. And if you do that, and if you're already typed out a long email or a long text message and you lose all of that data, that's very disappointing. So to make sure that everything stays as you had left it, draft conversations would be a thing. So all you have to do is go back to that same conversation window and then quickly check out the last message that you had typed. Make changes to it, or if you were all set to go and the phone call just interrupted you, well, now you have the time to either send it out or schedule it for a later time. So draft conversations also is happening. Then we have support for custom conversation providers. As of today, we were limited to only our default channels, which were text, email, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and Instagram. Now, since we have a marketplace for web, and you can add custom conversation providers like Telegram, because Telegram is now gaining popularity in a lot of different regions globally. And if you want that, and that is not natively available, you can add it from the marketplace and make sure it runs with your conversations on web. That same functionality will now be available on the mobile app also. So if you have a Telegram linked and you have had a couple of conversations via Telegram, all those conversations would now appear on the mobile app, as well as the ability to start a brand new Telegram conversation also. So for example, now you can see it here. Similarly, if you have any other custom conversation provider that you prefer and you have added that to on web, basically, would now be available on the mobile app. So we are shipping this live next month. And then we have the ability to archive messages. So if you are running your business on the go and you're speaking to a lot of different people, a lot of times you've already done the task that was intended and the conversation tile has no meaning to you today, but in the future, it could be relevant once again. So one way to get rid of this was to just delete it entirely. And that's the feature that we supported on the mobile app. But what if you want to approach this on a later date? That is exactly why Archive exists, to make sure that your conversation screen looks clean and seamless. And whenever you want to revisit those messages, you can quickly access it via the tiles up top. So you see all the filters here, the quick filters, the recent, unread, start. Similarly, we will have a filter for archives. So if you tap on that, only your archive messages would be available. And if you want to bring it back to your main screen, you could unarchive it. So archive is the ability to archive messages is coming to the mobile app. And WhatsApp voice notes, something that our WhatsApp team recently shipped out, and it has received tremendous response overall. Now, WhatsApp is a platform that most folks are familiar with on their mobile devices. Not a lot of people are opening WhatsApp web. It's something that is a channel that is used on the go on your mobile app because WhatsApp has designed its experience so well. So we want to do the same here. And we want to make sure that the way WhatsApp does everything, including voice notes, including CTAs, everything remains the same on the mobile app. The experience is paralleled. So that's how we are introducing voice notes. The idea is that you will see a voice recording section here if you are on WhatsApp as a channel, and you could tap this and drag it up to open this. And then you have the ability to either pause, delete, or send your voice note out. So you start speaking, record your message. You can pause it if you want to quickly just play it. So you will have, if you pause it, you will have the ability to quickly check the message that you have recorded. And then you can send it out. But if you need to make changes, you can delete the message and record it once again. So making sure that the way you have been using voice notes on WhatsApp on the native WhatsApp app, the experience remains the same on our mobile apps. And then we have WhatsApp Conversation AI. This is something that we are building out constantly. And Conversation AI as a feature has been available for SMS as a channel. Now we are bringing this over to WhatsApp just because WhatsApp, a lot of a lot of conversations are processed through WhatsApp. And having the ability to generate AI replies, especially if you have a lot of messages to cater to, is definitely a boon. So this is a feature that will be coming both on web and on mobile simultaneously. So we will be syncing our release cycles to make sure that this is available to you instantly. And that's it on the conversation side. So if there are any comments or questions around conversations, I'm happy to answer those.
Sam?
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Not on conversations, but back on calendars. When you mentioned you'll be able to see all your events, is it just for that calendar or for all your calendars, like we can on desktop?
Oh, well, that is exactly the next slide.
Well, okay.
Patience. Patience.
All right.
We have structured it module by module. Calendar is next. But yeah, before we jump into this, any questions around conversations?
Archive messages, will this action be reflected on web?
Absolutely, it will. Yes. Archive is a feature that is already available on web. If you've not already discovered it, it would be available on your top bar on where you have all the different actions. So archive is already available, but the way we will be introducing it is in a very seamless fashion with the help of gestures. So if you saw the page over here, right here, left swipe on the conversation tile, you have the archive section right here. Because most of the times you would not want to go ahead and quickly delete it, right? So archive is our primary action right after start. So it's just simple to perform. Auto archive after X months. That's quite interesting. But the thing is, there are some complexities involved. So a lot of people would want their messages to stay there and not be archived, right? And some people would want their conversation screen to be clutter-free without any human intervention. We'll figure out a middle ground for this. I'll take this over to the conversations team and see, what best they can pull up. I'll just make a note of this.
Leor?
Yeah, so about the WhatsApp, right now I've been using the voice note from the web so far, and it is sending the recording as a file, not as a normal like voice note that is usually used on WhatsApp. Is that just because that's how the connection works, or is that something that's going to be changed?
I think that's just for the initial launch. I'm sure they're already refining it because just to make the experience overall far more seamless, they would be introducing a way to just have it as a voice note and not as a file, because a file, of course, in the long run makes no sense. So let me just double check with them if they're already on it. If they're not, then we'll try to prioritize this and make sure once it's available on the mobile app, it's already all taken care of.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Dan?
Question. If say that a message has been archived, but it's not read, will it deduct that from the notification thingy on the mobile? The number one kind of on the app?
The
It
badge.
will.
Yeah.
I think, yes, it will, because technically it's no longer in your unread list. The status has been changed from unread to archived. But there are very, very few chances of accidentally archiving something, because when you see the unread badge here and you have to perform a couple of steps, and archive just won't work like this. So if you're tapping on archive, you have a confirmation message to tap. You show you want to archive this, because at the end of the day, all these conversations are extremely important. So we would not want anyone to lose out on any context. So that is why there will be a confirmation message. And if you agree to that, then yes, the conversation will be archived and the batch count will reduce.
Cool.
Okay, I think we are good on the conversation side. So let's move over to calendars. Now, of course, multiple calendar support, which this is one of the primary reasons why we decided to redesign how calendars look and feel on the mobile app. So the idea was that with the initial approach, where you had the ability to scroll endlessly, if we introduced multiple calendar support, you would go down a rabbit hole so deep that it's just hard to come out without leaving the calendars page. And if you are on the calendars page, you're there for a reason. So that is why we have restricted the scroll to only the date that you are viewing. Of course, with the multiple views that we will be shipping out soon, you will always have the option to switch to a list view. But as of today, we have restricted it to just the list for that particular date that you have selected. And right underneath that, you would see a drop down. So by default, your calendar would be the one that is selected. If you open this up, you could switch between users, calendars, or groups. I believe that's the exact same way that you do it on web today. So making sure that it's all seamless, it's the exact same on how everyone has already been used to. So just switch between these different categories and select whatever is necessary. But just remember that there no combination of any category is possible. So if you're selecting from users, you will have to select user calendars only. You can't switch from here to groups and add 2 user calendars and 3 groups. That just complicates things, and I don't think that's supported on web. So we are keeping it pretty straightforward to launch, but we'll just see if a cross combination is possible in the future. And once you've chosen the right calendars to view, you quickly hit confirm, and then you would be able to see the calendars have been added. So if, of course, the calendar count exceeds 3, you would see a small bubble over here that tells you how many more calendars are present. And if you quickly want to just view, you tap on this again, and all the selected calendars are available up top, which is why there's a delimiter or a line that differentiates selected calendars from non-selected ones. And if you see, there's a color code assigned to each particular calendar or user group. Uh, as per my knowledge, I don't think customization of the color for each calendar is possible. I'll have to double check on this, but the way the colors would get assigned, you would see the event differentiation right here. So something could be green, something could be orange, something could be red, something could be yellow, something could be blue. And this would be for all the different calendars that you're seeing. So just to make understanding which event for which calendar this is. So yes, this will also be going live very, very soon. Then we have the ability to share your calendar link. And it just makes sense for you to have it on the mobile app because we have conversations available on the side. We have a couple of different things available. So if you want to quickly shoot your link to somebody and book an appointment, book a call, you can do this by just heading over to the calendar section and tapping on the share icon on the top right. So you tap on this and you get the option to choose between a scheduling link or a one-time link. So with the scheduling link, of course, you have the URL, you copy it, but if you change your slug, then this link would change. So you could opt for a permanent link instead and share it with your clients. You also have a one-time link, which would be applicable only for a single appointment, after which you will have to share a different link. That's how one-time link would be available here. So yes, calendar sharing links would also be coming to the mobile app in September. Okay, yeah, so that's on calendars and appointments. Any questions around this?
Not seeing any.
Awesome. Okay. Well, social planner. I think we've covered this over the last 2 town halls because this is such a massive release and we are super excited to bring this over to the mobile app. And I'm glad to tell you that we have made quite a lot of progress and we are gearing up for a September launch for this feature. So if you have accounts, different social accounts that you have already configured on web, by default, they will be available on the mobile app with the connections already established. And then all you have to do is just schedule your posts. You can switch between different views. So you can toggle between a monthly view, a weekly view, and a list view. So the overall way to navigate through your social posts as well as to navigate through your events on your calendar, the experience would be the same so that the learning curve is as flat as possible. So you switch between different views. If you tap on plus, you get to create a brand new post. You choose the channels that you want to broadcast it out to, and you add the content, you add text, whatever is necessary. You can either send it out, schedule it, or you can send it for approval for to someone, right? And once everything is done, you will also have the ability to view analytics around this. But we will make sure that we are in sync with the team that is working on web and that they are rolling this feature out at the same time when we are taking this live. And yeah.
Awesome.
Then we have media library. So the idea behind media library was to make sure that adding images or just media files, your images, your videos from your mobile device to the media libraries as seamless as possible. And a lot of time what happens is that if you are using the media library very actively on web, you would be clicking a couple of pictures from your mobile device. You just take your iPhone and quickly snap a picture of, say, the new cupcakes you have prepared as a bakery owner, right? And these would then be transferred to your desktop, added to the media library, after which you could add it to your products for your POS or for your social planner. If you're sending out a couple of posts that, well, my new bakery is now open and these are some of the items that are available. So in a situation like this, it just becomes a very lengthy and tedious process to make sure that all the images are available and you've transferred everything from your mobile device to your desktop. But there is one way to solve for it. If we have media library natively available inside the mobile app, all you have to do is just head over to media library as a section, click on new upload. So the design, of course, that we are referencing would be very similar to the one available on web. So you just have to tap on new upload, and then you will have an option to either upload from your gallery or take a picture. So then you choose between taking a picture or uploading or recording a video, right? And then once you've done that, that gets added to your media library. You can choose to add it to a folder if necessary, or just leave it, uncategorized if that's how you want to do it. But once it has been added on your media library on the mobile app, you head over to your web app, and under media library, that same image would be available. So no more, performing airdrops or getting those cables, connecting them, transferring those files, missing out on something important. None of that. It becomes super easy and super seamless to operate. So media library, we are also looking at building this towards September. This may slip to an October launch if Social Planner takes a while longer, but pretty hopeful that by September end, we would have media library on the mobile app live. And finally, we have a revamp of our contacts section. So this is something that, again, we are also quite excited about because with this, the contacts experience becomes very, very seamless overall. It becomes very similar to how you have been operating with contacts on your iOS device and just performing all these actions, right? So for a contact card, you will now have these primary action buttons, which allow you to perform the most important task. So either call this contact, send them a message, shoot them an email, maybe book an appointment with them, or charge them for something. And with all of this, you have different sections. So you have the contact section where now, if you have created folders and if you have custom values, or sorry, custom fields where you have segregated them in different folders, that entire hierarchy, which is being followed on web, will be available in the exact same manner on the mobile app. So no more of every single custom field being populated under additional info. If you have kept them under general info, that's how it'll be. The list of folders would also be dependent on the way you have configured folders on your platform. You have activity, you have tasks, notes, all of these experiences would be redefined, would be made far more smoother, far more refined. Appointments, transactions, and documents and files. So I believe this was a question when we were talking about any attachments that were sent. So with all of this, you will have categories where you can see attachments that were sent via documents and files, documents and contracts, attachments that were uploaded just for this particular contact. Maybe, you got a business card and you want to just upload it with this contact to just keep it handy for future. You will be able to do that. If you want, just check any other attachments that you had sent to them or received from them, all of them would be available under this section. Of course, these are the same things that would be available inside the media library, but this is a far easier way to categorize everything and look up the most important media files. Just head over to the contact card, open it up, and look for the right media file. You will also have the ability, of course, to assign a contact to a specific staff member, but this is something we have already had. Followers was something that we did not support, and with this brand new redesign, we would be bringing followers over to our contacts on the mobile app also. So a lot of different things coming to contacts, and this also be targeting a September release. And I
That's
think that's it. So
yeah, that's amazing. So we had a question about watermarking. I believe the social planner team has got watermarking on their roadmap. I'm not 100% on that though.
no, so watermarking is something that is already available on web, and we
Okay,
will
there we
be
go.
bringing it to mobile app too. Yes,
Okay.
maybe not on the
Okay,
first
cool.
piece, but we will be iterating on it continuously. So if it's not available in September, it will definitely be there in October.
Awesome. And then when they're uploading the photos, are those automatically going to get synced to the media library?
Uploading the picture to where?
So like let's say I think Dutch, you're coming from the angle, you're creating a social post, you go and take a photo, do whatever you want to it, post it. Does that photo get added to the media library
I
for
see.
reference?
Yes. So it will directly be added to the media library, but I'm guessing that's about adding it to the mobile upload folder. Well, that's something that we have not thought of concretely yet, because media library is something that's still being conceptualized on the best way for the mobile app. But let me just keep this handy because it's a good point.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
there's so
I
many
think
pictures going everywhere otherwise, and maybe I'm a little bit too organized, but I like things in folders.
Right.
I love
Makes sense.
folders too. You're not alone.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I could see ideally we'd have like a checkbox that's kind of maybe enabled by default that just says also, you know, send this to the media uploads folder if we can do that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely taken note of this, and let me make sure that we accommodate for this once we are building out media library on the mobile app.
Joshua, you with
Sorry,
us?
there we go.
Okay.
Yep, sorry. Had the wrong microphone selected. Yeah, on the watermarking, just context around that slightly. So I know on browser we can do that right now. The idea here is like we've got some clients that have, whether it's a carpet cleaning company or any of that type of stuff, and they've got techs in the field, and some of these techs, like, they take really solid photos and then they just dump them all into a text message thread or a Google Drive folder or whatever, and then whoever's managing the marketing, whether that's on their team or our team or whatever, they've got to figure out what the heck was actually being done in that image. And so we're trying to figure out, like, okay, they're already using the Lead Connector app in the sense of, like, this is the job that they're doing. It's already on the calendar. Like, they communicate with the client. So we're like, okay, if they're taking those photos and they could literally hop into the social media planner and then create a draft post with a one sentence description about before and after at this project or whatever, obviously would want some approval on that. So we're trying to just figure out, like, I think there could be some interesting additional use cases for the social media planner on mobile with, maybe the user permission is someone can create a draft post but not actually post it, and then a marketing manager or whatever can review that, tweak the content slightly, and then send it on its merry way. And then the other piece is we've got some clients who love just hopping into Instagram and just posting photos and they're not watermarked or any of that type of stuff. And so like all of a sudden, you know, even just a lower right corner, you know, company logo helps with brand recognition for that. So just, you know, two thought process there on what we're looking for potentially in the future. You know, obviously I get like day one, all of the, you know, everything's not going to be rolling out, but you know, just from a roadmap perspective.
I mean, that's definitely very valid. I'll take this over to the social plan team on web also, since we will require some support from them to build it out on mobile. But what I'll do is I'll anyway be adding my calendar link to the chat over here. So definitely, if you have some time this week, let's hop on a call and let's brainstorm a little further so that, you know, I have the entire context in hand before I take it over to the other team.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Anything else before we adjourn? Going once, going twice. Urvash, thank you so much, and the team. I'm super pumped for a lot of these updates, particularly the new contact card. It's looking really good and social planner. So thanks again for all of that and all your guys' hard work as we push toward level up. There'll be a bunch of fun things happening there as well. Urvash will drop his calendar link here in a second. And then, as always, if you have not gotten your tickets for the summit, now is your chance. This is your sign. We look forward to seeing you there. Have lots of conversations just like this, and a lot of fun along the way. So I hope to see you guys there. Pretty much the entire team's going to be there, so you'll have a lot of interesting access to folks. And we will see you on the next one. So thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ryan. Have a good
All
one.
right. Take care. Bye-bye.